Hey everyone, welcome back to English Elevate Express, your go to channel where we elevate your English skills with fun, real life stories and conversations. I'm your host, Sarah, and today we have a really special guest with us. We'll be diving into a heartwarming and inspiring topic, learning English with family support. So, if you're struggling to improve your English or you feel alone in the journey, today's episode might just change your perspective. Joining me is my good friend, Alex, who has an incredible story about how his family has been his backbone in his English learning journey. Hey, Alex. Thanks for being here.
Hey Sarah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to share my story and hopefully inspire some listeners out there.
Absolutely. And for those of you tuning in for the first time, make sure to subscribe to English Elevate Express for more conversations like this, tips, and tricks to elevate your English every week. So, Alex, let's jump right into it. I know you've been learning English for a while, but your story is unique because your family has played such a big role. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, English wasn't just something I studied at school or by myself. It became this whole family effort. It started when I was a kid. My parents noticed that English would be important for my future, so they decided to make it part of our everyday lives.
That's amazing. How did that all begin? Like, did they just start speaking English out of nowhere?
It wasn't as sudden as that. It was more gradual, but intentional. For example, my mom would mix English into our dinner conversations. At first, it was simple stuff, pass the salt, or how was your day? But over time, she started asking more in English, and it encouraged me to answer in English too.
So, dinner table conversations were like mini English lessons?
Exactly! It didn't feel like a lesson, though, because it was natural. We were just talking about our day or sharing stories, but in English. It was so subtle, but effective. My dad, who's a little less confident in English than my mom, even jumped in. It became this fun family challenge. How long can we keep the conversation going in English?
That's such a great idea. And I imagine it made you feel more comfortable speaking English, right?
Totally. Speaking English at home helped me get used to it in a safe environment. I wasn't afraid of making mistakes because my family was super supportive. Plus, we'd laugh it off if someone made a funny error or couldn't find the right word. It felt like we were all in it together.
That support system sounds so important. I know a lot of people feel nervous about speaking English, especially with others. But having your family there to practice with must have taken a lot of the pressure off.
Yeah, it really did. And they went beyond just talking at the dinner table. My parents encouraged me to watch English movies. At first, they'd watch with me, and we'd put on subtitles in our native language. But soon, they started turning the subtitles to English, which helped me focus on both listening and reading.
That's a great strategy. Did you have any favorite movies or shows that you watched together?
Oh, definitely. We started with a lot of animated movies. Pixar and Disney were favorites because they're easy to understand, but the language is still natural. Finding Nemo, The Incredibles, and Toy Story were on repeat for a while. And later, we moved on to shows like Friends because the dialogue is simple and conversational. My parents would even pause and ask me questions like, "What do you think that phrase means?" Or, "How would you say that in a different way?" It made watching TV more interactive.
That's so cool. It sounds like your family was really involved in your learning process. Was there a point when you realized, wow, this is actually working? My English is improving?
Yeah, there was. I think it hit me when I started understanding more without needing subtitles. I remember one time we were watching The Avengers. which has a lot of fast-paced dialogue, and I was like, wait, I get what they're saying. That was a big confidence boost.
I can imagine. And it must have made all that hard work with your family feel so worth it. Did they celebrate your progress with you?
For sure. My parents were always encouraging me, telling me how proud they were when I'd use new words or when I'd explain a joke we heard in a movie. They'd give me these mini celebrations, like if I did well in a conversation or on an English test, we'd go out for ice cream or something. It made learning English feel rewarding in more ways than one.
That's fantastic. I love how your family turned this into such a positive experience. And beyond movies, were there other ways they helped you practice?
Yes! My mom also encouraged me to write. She'd give me these little creative writing challenges like, write a short story about what you did today, but in English. And my dad, even though he wasn't as confident in English, would help me research new vocabulary. We'd look up words together, and he'd try to use them in sentences with me. It was like we were both learning.
That's such a great bonding experience, too. It sounds like your dad was learning alongside you.
Yeah, and I think that was key. My family didn't just say, go learn English, and leave me to it. They were in it with me. It felt like we were all on this journey, even though I was the one really needing to learn.
This is so inspiring, Alex. It goes to show that learning a language doesn't have to be isolating. In fact, having support from your family or even friends can make it so much more enjoyable and effective.
Exactly. And I think the biggest takeaway for me is that learning a language doesn't have to feel like homework or a chore. It can be integrated into everyday life in small, meaningful ways. And having people around you who support you, like my family did, makes all the difference.
I agree. For those of you listening, take note. There are so many ways you can involve your loved ones in your English learning journey. Whether it's through movies, games, or just daily conversation, it doesn't have to feel like you're doing it alone. So, Alex, I love how your family made your English learning journey feel so natural and fun. It really got me thinking. There's something powerful about making learning feel less like a task and more like an everyday part of life. I bet some listeners are wondering, though, did you ever have moments where you felt stuck or frustrated? How did your family handle that?
Oh, absolutely! I had plenty of those moments. Learning a language can feel like a roller coaster sometimes. One day, you're understanding everything, and the next, you're stuck on the simplest sentence. I remember this one time we were watching Sherlock Holmes. The language was so fast and complex, and I just couldn't keep up. I felt so frustrated that I almost walked out. But my mom saw I was struggling and paused the movie. She said something that stuck with me. She told me it's okay not to understand everything. She reminded me that even native speakers sometimes miss things or need to watch things twice to fully get it.
That's such a great reminder. Language learning isn't about perfection, but progress. It's easy to feel discouraged when you don't understand something right away.
Exactly. My family was always really good at helping me zoom out and see the bigger picture. They'd say things like, look at how much you've already learned, or think about how hard English must have seemed a year ago. They were really good at celebrating the small victories, which helped me push through those moments of doubt.
I love that perspective, celebrating the small wins. It's something I think everyone learning English, or any language for that matter, can relate to. Sometimes we're so focused on fluency that we forget how far we've come.
For sure. And I think it's also about pacing yourself. There were times I pushed myself too hard thinking I needed to study more, watch more movies, or memorize more vocabulary. but my parents would step in and say, "Take a break, let it sink in." They believed in balance. Sometimes I'd take a few days off from intense studying and just let my brain process everything.
That's such valuable advice. Learning doesn't always have to be nonstop. Taking breaks and allowing time for things to click naturally can actually be part of the process. Did your family have any fun ways of taking breaks from formal learning while still keeping English a part of the routine?
Yeah, definitely. One of our favorite things to do was play board games or card games in English. We had Scrabble in English, which became super competitive. We'd challenge each other to come up with new words, and even if someone didn't know a word, it became a learning moment. We'd look it up, and then the next time it came up, we all knew it. We also played games like 20 Questions in English, where we had to ask questions and guess the object or person someone was thinking of, all in English.
Oh, that's a fantastic idea. You were learning without even realizing it because it was all part of having fun. Games are such a great way to improve vocabulary and practice conversational skills without the pressure.
Exactly. And because it was so playful, I found that I remembered the words much better. The competitive aspect definitely helped too. No one in the family wanted to lose, so we all ended up learning together.
I love that. It makes me think of all the ways people can incorporate English into their hobbies or family time. So many possibilities, like even cooking together and following recipes in English, or maybe singing along to English songs. Did your family ever try anything like that? I love that. It makes me think of all the ways people can incorporate English into their hobbies or family time. So many possibilities, like even cooking together and following recipes in English, or maybe singing along to English songs. Did your family ever try anything like that? Absolutely. Food always makes things better. And I bet following a recipe helped you get comfortable with specific vocabulary, especially verbs like chop, mix, or bake. It's such a practical way to learn.
Yeah, exactly. It helped with instructions and following directions, which are important in both spoken and written English. My dad also joined in with the cooking sometimes, and we'd even make it a mini English challenge. Like, you could only ask for ingredients in English, and if you didn't know the word, you had to describe it.
That's so clever. You guys were creating these mini immersion experiences right at home, which is something not everyone thinks to do. I think that's one of the biggest takeaways from your story, Alex. The idea that learning can happen naturally and doesn't have to be all about sitting with textbooks. You were living the language. That's so clever. You guys were creating these mini immersion experiences right at home, which is something not everyone thinks to do. I think that's one of the biggest takeaways from your story, Alex. The idea that learning can happen naturally and doesn't have to be all about sitting with textbooks. You were living the language.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Learning a language should be fun and engaging. Sure, there's a place for textbooks and formal lessons, but it's the everyday moments where it really starts to click. When English becomes a part of your life, rather than just something you do for an hour a day, that's when you start seeing real progress.
Absolutely. I think it's also a reminder that everyone can find their own creative ways to make language learning part of their daily routine, whether it's through games, cooking, or conversations. It's all about finding what works for you.
I know a lot of listeners might be thinking about how they can get their own families involved. If you had to give one final piece of advice to people who are on this journey but maybe don't have the same level of family support, What would you suggest?
I'd say, even if your family isn't directly involved, you can still create your own supportive environment. It could be friends, language partners, or even an online community. And if you're learning solo, don't underestimate the power of setting small challenges for yourself, like practicing speaking out loud or writing a short journal entry in English every day. The key is consistency. And most importantly, don't be afraid to make mistakes. That's how you grow.
Some detailed questions and answers related to the topic, learning English with family support, that can help listeners gain a deeper understanding and practical insights.
How can family support make a difference when learning English?
Family support plays a crucial role in the process of learning a new language like English because it creates a positive, nurturing environment that encourages consistent practice. When families get involved, they can make language learning more enjoyable and natural by integrating English into everyday activities, like conversations during meals, watching English movies together, or playing games in English. This approach helps learners stay motivated and reduces the pressure of formal study. Supportive family members can also celebrate small victories, providing emotional encouragement when progress feels slow. For example, if a learner is struggling with a particular word or grammar concept, a parent or sibling might patiently help them understand it by breaking it down in simpler terms or finding creative ways to explain. This encouragement helps the learner stay motivated, and it also shows that mistakes are a normal part of the learning process. Moreover, learning with family creates an immersive environment. Constant exposure to the language, even in casual settings, can improve listening and speaking skills without feeling like traditional studying. When the whole family is involved, they might also improve their own English skills, making it a collective journey where everyone is learning together.
What are some practical ways families can help someone learn English at home?
There are numerous practical ways families can support English learning at home. Daily conversations in English. One of the simplest and most effective ways is by practicing conversations in English during routine activities like meals, car rides, or while doing chores. Families can start with simple phrases and gradually build up to more complex sentences, which allows the learner to gain confidence in speaking. Watching English movies or TV shows. Watching movies or TV series in English with subtitles is a great way to improve both listening skills and vocabulary. Families can watch together and then discuss the plot, characters, or key phrases afterward. It's helpful to start with content that matches the learner's level and slowly increase the difficulty. Playing language games. Games like Scrabble, Pictionary, or 20 questions in English can make learning fun. These games build vocabulary, improve spelling, and help with quick thinking in English. You can also use language learning apps or online games that the whole family can participate in. Reading. Together. Families can pick English books, magazines, or even news articles to read together. After reading, discussing the content in English can reinforce comprehension and encourage speaking. For younger learners, reading children's books out loud is a great way to practice pronunciation and sentence structure. Cooking with English recipes. Following recipes in English and cooking together is another fun way to incorporate language learning. It exposes learners to cooking-related vocabulary, and because it's practical and hands-on, the words are easier to remember. Role-playing scenarios. Families can create role-play scenarios, like ordering at a restaurant or asking for directions, which give learners real-life practice in a safe, comfortable environment. This prepares them for similar situations outside the home.
What can someone do if their family doesn't speak English or is unable to help them practice?
If a learner's family doesn't speak English or cannot actively help, there are still several ways to create a supportive learning environment. Online language exchange. There are many platforms where learners can connect with native English speakers or other learners to practice through video or voice calls. Websites and apps like HelloTalk, Tandem, and Conversation Exchange allow people to practice speaking English with others in exchange for helping them learn your native language. Join English clubs or communities. Many communities offer language clubs where learners can practice English with others. This can be through local meetups, English conversation clubs, or online groups on platforms like Facebook, Reddit, or Discord. These clubs provide a space for practice and help build confidence in speaking. Using media. Learners can immerse themselves in English by watching TV shows, listening to podcasts, or reading books. While family members may not be able to speak the language, they might still enjoy watching English movies or shows with you, which can create a shared learning experience. Practice speaking alone. Learners can practice speaking out loud even when alone. This can be done by reading aloud, talking to oneself, or even recording oneself speaking about daily tasks or personal experiences. Over time, this helps with fluency and pronunciation, even without a conversation partner. Teach family members English. If the family is open to it, the learner can try teaching them English. This way, the entire family begins learning together. The learner gets the benefit of reinforcing what they've learned by explaining it to others, and the family members also get to pick up a new skill.
What should you do when you feel stuck or frustrated while learning English?
Feeling stuck or frustrated is a natural part of the language learning journey, and it's important to recognize that progress is not always linear. Here's how to handle those moments. Take a step back. Sometimes, stepping away from intense study sessions can give your brain time to process new information. Taking a short break or focusing on something different for a while can help you come back with a clearer perspective. Celebrate small wins. Reflect on how far you've come. Even if it feels like you're not making progress, you've likely learned more than you realize. Celebrating small victories, like understanding a difficult sentence or remembering a new word, can motivate you to keep going. Mix up your routine. If you're feeling stuck, try changing the way you're learning. For instance, if you've been focusing on grammar, switch to speaking practice. If you're tired of reading, watch a movie or listen to a podcast. Keeping things fresh can reignite your interest and make learning fun again. Involve your support system. Don't be afraid to ask for help. If your family or friends can assist, let them know where you're struggling. They may offer new ways to explain something or give you the encouragement you need to push through. Set achievable goals. Break down your learning into small, manageable goals. Instead of aiming for complete fluency, focus on learning a few new words each week or improving in a specific area like pronunciation or listening. Achieving these smaller goals will give you a sense of progress.
How can games and activities help in learning English with family?
Games and interactive activities are excellent tools for learning English because they make the process enjoyable and engaging. When learning is fun, it feels less like a task and more like a social activity, which can be especially motivating for children and adults alike. Here's how they help. Improves vocabulary. Games like Scrabble or Boggle force players to think creatively about words, expanding their vocabulary in the process. Since it's a competitive, fun atmosphere, learners are more likely to remember the words they discovered during gameplay. Reinforces grammar and sentence structure. Language games often require constructing sentences or answering questions. For example, in 20 questions or role-playing activities, participants need to ask and answer questions in grammatically correct ways, which helps reinforce sentence structure. Encourages speaking and listening practice. In games like Pictionary, where someone has to guess what's being drawn based on clues given in English, players practice both speaking and listening. This helps improve fluency and comprehension in a natural way. Reduces fear of mistakes. When learning happens in a playful environment, learners feel less afraid of making mistakes. In a game, mistakes are part of the fun, and they become learning opportunities rather than moments of frustration or embarrassment. Creates a collaborative learning environment. Games foster teamwork and collaboration, which is perfect for families. Everyone contributes and learns together, making language acquisition a shared goal. The support and fun from family members make the learning experience more engaging and memorable. Tailoring English learning activities to suit different age groups ensures that every family member can participate effectively, making the learning process inclusive and enjoyable for all. Here's how families can approach this. Children, ages 5 to 12. Storytelling and reading aloud. Choose age-appropriate English storybooks. Parents can read aloud to younger children, encouraging them to follow along and participate by repeating phrases or answering simple questions about the story. Educational games. Use games like Memory Match with English words and pictures, or Simon Says using English commands to make learning interactive and fun. Songs and rhymes. Incorporate English songs and nursery rhymes into daily routines. Singing helps with pronunciation, rhythm, and vocabulary acquisition. Arts and crafts. Engage in crafts that involve following English instructions, labeling parts of the craft with English words, or creating simple projects that require using English terminology. Teenagers, ages 13 to 19. Interactive discussions. Encourage discussions on topics that interest teenagers, such as movies, music, technology, or social issues. This fosters critical thinking and conversational skills. Media consumption. Watch English TV shows, movies, or YouTube channels together and discuss the content. Teenagers can take the lead in choosing what to watch, making the activity more engaging. Project-based learning. Assign projects that require research and presentation in English, such as creating a short video, writing a blog post, or conducting interviews. Technology integration. Utilize language learning apps and online resources that appeal to tech-savvy teenagers. They can track their progress and engage with interactive content. Adults. Professional development. Incorporate English learning into career advancement by practicing business English, attending online webinars, or participating in professional English courses together. Cultural exchange. Engage in activities that explore English-speaking cultures, such as cooking traditional dishes using English recipes, celebrating English holidays, or discussing cultural norms and practices. Reading and discussion groups. Form a family book club where each member reads the same English book and discusses it together. This promotes comprehension and analytical skills. Language challenges. Set family-wide challenges, such as speaking only English for a certain period each day, or learning a set number of new vocabulary words each week. All ages. Continued. Shared goals and rewards. Establish collective goals like completing a certain number of vocabulary words or mastering a grammar concept as a family. Once the goal is achieved, celebrate with a fun family activity, such as a movie night or an outing. Cross-generational teaching. Older siblings or parents can teach younger family members basic English concepts, which reinforces their own learning while engaging the younger ones. This approach fosters a collaborative and supportive learning environment.
What are the emotional benefits of learning English with family support?
Learning English with family support offers several emotional and psychological benefits, which can enhance the learning experience and foster a positive relationship with the language. Increased motivation. Learning with family members creates a sense of accountability and motivation. Since everyone is involved, learners feel encouraged to keep up with the group and contribute to the shared learning experience. The positive reinforcement from family members helps maintain motivation, especially during difficult times. Reduced anxiety. For many learners, speaking a new language can cause anxiety, especially in public or formal settings. Practicing at home with supportive family members creates a safe and non-judgmental space where learners can make mistakes without fear of embarrassment. This emotional safety boosts confidence, which eventually translates into better performance in real-life situations. Emotional bonding. Learning together strengthens family bonds. When family members collaborate, they share not only the challenges, but also the joy of each other's progress. The process of helping one another, celebrating milestones, and overcoming obstacles together fosters a sense of unity and teamwork. Sense of achievement. Accomplishing language goals as a family builds a sense of achievement. When one family member succeeds in learning something new, the whole family shares in the pride and accomplishment. This collective feeling of success can be a powerful motivator for continued learning. Emotional support. During the learning journey, there will inevitably be moments of frustration or self-doubt. Family members can provide emotional support during these times by offering encouragement, empathy, and reassurance. This emotional backing prevents burnout and keeps the learner on track toward their language goals. Positive reinforcement. Family members often provide immediate feedback, whether it's correcting a mistake or praising correct usage. This instant feedback helps learners adjust and learn more efficiently, while positive reinforcement builds self-esteem and the desire to keep improving.
What if some family members are not interested in learning English? How can you still get support from them?
It's common for not all family members to share the same enthusiasm for learning English, but there are still ways to get support from them. Lead by example. If some family members are not interested in learning English, show them how much progress you're making by sharing your excitement and success stories. Sometimes, seeing tangible results can spark their interest or at least gain their moral support. Incorporate their interests. Find ways to align English practice with the interests of family members. For example, if a family member loves cooking, suggest trying out English language recipes together. If someone enjoys sports, watch English commentary on games. This way, English learning becomes a part of their existing hobbies rather than something separate. Ask for simple help. Even if family members aren't learning English themselves, they can still help in small ways, such as asking you to explain something in English or listening to you practice speaking. They don't need to be experts. Just listening and engaging can be beneficial. Mutual learning exchange. Offer to help them with something they're interested in learning in exchange for their support. For instance, if they're trying to learn a new skill or hobby, you could trade time helping each other out. This creates a balanced dynamic where both parties benefit. Encourage a supportive atmosphere. Even if family members aren't directly involved in your English learning, fostering an environment of support and encouragement can be helpful. Let them know how important their encouragement is to you. They can offer emotional support even if they aren't actively participating in language practice. Respect their preferences. If family members aren't interested, respect their choice and avoid forcing them to participate. Focus on getting support from others, such as friends or online communities, while maintaining a positive relationship with family members who may not be as involved.
What are the benefits of watching English movies or TV shows with family as part of language learning?
Watching English movies or TV shows with family can be a highly effective and enjoyable way to improve language skills. Here are the key benefits. Contextual learning. Movies and TV shows provide a rich context for language, allowing learners to see how words and phrases are used in real-life situations. This helps with understanding slang, idioms, and colloquial expressions that might not be covered in textbooks. Listening practice. Exposure to different accents, speeds of speech, and vocabulary in movies or shows improves listening skills. It's particularly helpful for understanding native speakers and recognizing variations in pronunciation. Discussion and analysis. Watching movies with family allows for follow-up discussions about the plot, characters, and themes in English. These discussions promote critical thinking and speaking practice. Each family member can take turns summarizing what they watched or explaining their favorite scenes in English. Improved vocabulary and expressions. Through constant exposure, learners pick up new words and phrases. Family members can pause the movie to discuss unfamiliar words or expressions, making it a collaborative learning experience. The repetition of certain phrases in shows or movies can also reinforce memory retention. Fun and relaxation. Learning through entertainment is less stressful than formal study. Watching movies together creates a relaxed environment where learners can absorb the language without the pressure of exams or formal exercises. Plus, it's an enjoyable way to bond as a family. Visual and auditory learning. Movies combine both visual and auditory elements, making it easier for learners to associate words with actions or images. This multisensory approach enhances comprehension and memory retention. Cultural exposure. Watching English language movies exposes learners to the cultures, customs, and social norms of English-speaking countries. This deepens their understanding of the language and how it's used in different cultural contexts, helping learners develop a more holistic view of English.
How can parents with limited English skills support their children in learning English?
Even if parents have limited English skills, they can still play an important and supportive role in their children's English learning journey. Here are several ways they can help. Create a learning environment. Parents can create an English-rich environment by encouraging their children to practice the language at home. This includes setting aside time for English-related activities like reading books, watching educational English TV shows, or using language learning apps. Learn together. Parents and children can learn English simultaneously. Even if parents are beginners, they can show enthusiasm for learning by joining their children in studying basic vocabulary or grammar. Learning together makes the process less intimidating for children and reinforces family bonding. It also helps model a growth mindset, showing that language learning is a continuous process. Support through resources. Parents can provide their children with resources like English books, dictionaries, or access to English language apps and games. They can also help by finding local language classes, online tutorials, or educational platforms that offer guided learning. Even if they don't fully understand the content, being proactive in finding these resources demonstrates their support. Encourage use of English in everyday life. Parents can encourage their children to practice speaking English in everyday life, such as by greeting family members in English or using simple English phrases at home. For example, even if parents are not fluent, they can ask their children to help them with simple English phrases used in daily conversations like "good morning" or "how are you?" Use technology. If parents are not proficient in English, they can use technology to bridge the gap. Language learning apps like Duolingo or Babbel can guide children through lessons. Parents can oversee their children's progress and encourage them to complete daily or weekly tasks, even if they don't fully understand the material themselves. Celebrate progress. Parents can celebrate their children's achievements, no matter how small. Acknowledging when a child learns a new word, successfully completes an English assignment, or shows improvement in speaking can go a long way in boosting their confidence and motivation to continue learning. Find supportive communities. Parents can seek out communities or groups that offer English support, such as English conversation clubs or playgroups for children where they can interact with other English learners. If parents can't directly support language learning, they can still facilitate opportunities for their children to practice with others. Create a positive attitude toward learning. Even if parents are not proficient in English, their attitude toward learning can have a big impact. Encouraging curiosity and showing that it's okay to make mistakes can create a positive learning environment. If parents show that they value learning English, their children are more likely to stay motivated.
What are the challenges of learning English with family support, and how can you overcome them?
While learning English with family support offers many benefits, there can also be challenges. Here are some common challenges and ways to overcome them. Different learning paces. Challenge. Family members may learn at different speeds, leading to frustration or impatience. Solution. Acknowledge that everyone learns at their own pace. Set individual goals based on each family member's ability and offer encouragement rather than comparison. Family members can focus on different areas based on their proficiency levels, such as practicing basic phrases for beginners and more complex conversations for advanced learners. Lack of consistency. Challenge. It can be difficult to maintain a regular practice schedule with busy family life, especially when juggling work, school, and other responsibilities. Solution. Set a consistent time each week for English practice that fits into the family's schedule. Even if it's just 15 to 30 minutes a day, consistency is key. This could be during breakfast, after dinner, or during a weekend family activity like watching an English movie. Limited English proficiency of family members. Challenge. Not all family members may be proficient in English, which could limit how much they can help or practice. Solution. Focus on what everyone can contribute, even if it's just basic phrases or vocabulary. Those who are more advanced can help beginners, and the family can work together on activities that match everyone's level. Additionally, using media, movies, shows, or music, can offer language exposure that doesn't require full proficiency. Language mixing. Challenge. When families speak a different language at home, it can be easy to revert to the native language during practice sessions, which may slow down English learning. Solution. Set clear English-only times or activities. For example, during certain meals or specific games, everyone speaks only English. Create a fun system for tracking this, like a point system for each time someone uses English instead of their native language. Limited resources. Challenge. Families may not have access to high-quality language learning materials or resources, especially in households where English is not widely spoken. Solution. Make the most of free or low-cost resources available online. Websites, apps, podcasts, and YouTube channels, like English Elevate Express, offer a wide range of learning materials for different levels. Libraries and community centers might also offer English language resources or classes. Lack of confidence. Challenge. Family members, especially adults, may feel self-conscious about practicing English, especially if they are beginners. Solution. Create a supportive and judgment-free environment where mistakes are seen as a natural part of learning. Encourage each other by praising efforts, not just results, and celebrate each step forward. Learning together as a family can help reduce the fear of making mistakes because everyone is learning at the same time. Balancing fun with focus. Challenge. It's easy for family practice sessions to become too casual, losing the focus on actual learning. Solution. Balance fun activities with structured learning goals. For example, during a movie night, pause at certain points to discuss what's happening in English or learn new vocabulary. Have focused sessions where family members review vocabulary or practice speaking before moving on to more casual, fun activities.
How can technology enhance learning English with family support?
Technology offers a range of tools that can make learning English more engaging and accessible, especially for families. Here's how technology can enhance the process. Language learning apps. Apps like Duolingo, Babbel, and Memrise provide interactive lessons that can be used by family members at different skill levels. These apps make language learning more engaging by offering gamified learning experiences, tracking progress, and encouraging daily practice. Families can compete with each other to earn points, making learning fun and competitive. Video resources. Platforms like YouTube offer a wealth of English learning content, including grammar tutorials, listening exercises, and conversation practice. Channels like English Elevate Express provide accessible lessons and practical tips for learners of all levels. Families can watch these videos together, pause to discuss new concepts, and reinforce what they've learned. Online games and quizzes. Many websites offer interactive games and quizzes that focus on vocabulary building, grammar, and sentence structure. These can be especially fun for younger learners or for family game nights. Websites like Quizlet or Kahoot allow families to create their own quizzes or use pre-made ones to test their knowledge. Virtual language exchange platforms. For families who don't have many opportunities to practice speaking English, platforms like HelloTalk, Tandem, or Conversation Exchange allow learners to connect with native speakers or other learners around the world. This provides valuable real-life practice and exposure to different accents and conversational styles. Audiobooks and podcasts. Listening to English language audiobooks or podcasts helps improve listening comprehension. Families can listen to a story or educational podcast together and then discuss it afterward. This method is especially useful for families with different skill levels, as everyone can listen at their own pace and re-listen to difficult parts as needed. Smart assistants. Devices like Amazon's Alexa or Google Home can be useful tools for practicing English. Families can ask the assistant to define words, translate sentences, or play language games. They can also set up daily English learning prompts or use the assistant to create a learning routine. Online courses and classes. If a family prefers a more structured approach, they can sign up for online English courses through platforms like Coursera, Udemy, or local language schools that offer virtual classes. These courses often provide comprehensive lessons, quizzes, and practice exercises. Families can study together or independently and share what they've learned. Language apps for younger learners. For children, there are many apps designed to make English learning fun and interactive. Apps like Lingo Kids or Monkey Jr. provide colorful, game-like lessons that engage young learners with stories, songs, and activities tailored to their age group.
How can families practice English in real-life situations outside the home?
Practicing English in real-life situations outside the home is essential for improving fluency and gaining confidence. Here's how families can incorporate English into their everyday lives. Shopping and errands. Families can use English while shopping or running errands. Practice vocabulary by naming items in stores, reading product labels, or asking questions in English at checkout. This gives learners the chance to practice practical, everyday language in a real-world context. Dining out. When going to restaurants, families can try reading the menu in English, ordering food, and interacting with waitstaff in English if they're in an English-speaking country. Even in non-English-speaking areas, they can choose restaurants that offer English menus or practice ordering in English as a family exercise. Attending English-speaking events. Look for community events, such as English language book clubs, theater performances, or cultural festivals where English is spoken. This provides exposure to conversational English in a fun, immersive environment. Traveling. If possible, traveling to English-speaking countries offers one of the best ways to practice English in real-life situations. Families can engage with locals, navigate new environments, and immerse themselves in the language while traveling. Even a short vacation can provide valuable opportunities for language practice. Volunteering or joining groups. Families can join local clubs or volunteer organizations where English is the main language of communication. This allows them to practice English while participating in activities they enjoy or causes they care about. Using English in public spaces. When in public places like parks, libraries, or museums, families can make it a goal to speak only in English. They can read signs, ask for directions, or explain exhibits to each other in English. Practicing in these settings helps learners get used to using English in everyday situations. Socializing with English speakers, making friends with English speakers, whether at school, work, or through social events, gives learners a chance to practice English in natural conversations. Families can also invite English-speaking friends over for dinner or other activities to practice speaking in a comfortable, informal setting